Hello, this is Mrs. Pickett, and we are going to take notes over the second part of Lesson 2.9. So you should have this printed out or just continue in your notebook from the first part. So this is still Lesson 2.9. Now we're going to do the second type of compound inequalities, which are the AND inequalities, okay? So now when we have these, remember before they were apart, the graph of an AND inequality is together. Okay, so we're going to fill this in. So for an example, if I have the first one here, x is greater than or equal to -6, that is going to be a closed interval. So I'm going to go to -6 and have a closed filled in circle. It says x is greater than or equal to. Okay, so I'm going to shade this direction for right now. Then I see that x is less than or equal to -1. So now look what happens. Let me change my colors. So now I'm at 1, and that is still closed circle. And that would be less than, so we should shade this direction. So the only part of the graph that actually works is where they're shaded together. So that means that this circle right here is going to be one of the endpoints, so like stopping part of it. And then right here at 1, and we are going to shade in the middle of it, so they are together. Okay, so I'm going to erase this part right here. So look, when you graph on these, sometimes it's best to graph your 2 points. Excuse me, sorry. Graph your 2 points first, and then know that you're going to shade in the middle every time. So if the word AND, okay, if the word AND is in there, now your graph is going to be shaded in the middle, okay? So if we look at the next part here, rewriting AND inequalities. Because the solution to an AND inequality fall between two endpoints, they're frequently written in a more condensed form. So if we take what was up there, so we originally had x was greater than or equal to -6, and x was less than or equal to 1. What we can actually do, I can write this and I can say that -6 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 1. Because all of my values, just like if you look at the picture up above, have to be in between -6 and 1. Okay, so we're going to practice this. Let me enlarge this just a little bit. So if we look at number 6, and everything else still stays the same, when we solve, we're going to use the same rules. So now, when I look at my inequalities, I'm going to go from the number until I get to the next inequality. Okay, this is a little something tricky here. You have to pick out the where they are. So there's the first one that I'm going to solve. 2 is less than or equal to x plus 4. Okay. Then the second one that I want to solve, now I'm going to start from the opposite end with the 9, and I'm going to go until I run into the next inequality symbol. That's how I pick out my two equations. So there's the second equation. X plus 4 is less than 9. Okay? So you start on one end and go until you run into the second inequality symbol. Then you start on the other end and do the same thing so you can figure out your two equations. Now if we solve these, okay, I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. 2 minus 4 is going to give me a -2, which is less than or equal to x. If I solve over here, subtract 4, those cancel out. X is less than 9 minus 4 would give us 5. Now we want to combine these. We're going to write x in the middle, okay? So I have -2 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 5. We always use less than symbols, okay? Now that is my answer. Now I have to graph it on the number line. So -2 is less than or equal to, so that's going to be a closed circle. I'm going to do my points first. Then I have x is less than 5. That's just a less than. So 5 is going to be an open circle, okay? And now we want to shade in the middle. So now if I do my interval notation, remember, a parenthesis is if it's open and a bracket is if it's closed. So if I write my interval notation, I'm going to have a bracket for -2, because that was less than or equal to, comma 5, and I'm going to do a parenthesis for 5 because 5 was not included. Okay? Let's try another one. I'm going to jump down here to number 8 just to give us a little space. So again, we're going to start at the end, and I'm going to find my two equations. So there's the first one. Okay, then I'm going to find the second one. I'm going to start at the opposite end and go until I run into my next inequality. All right, so there's my two equations that I have boxed. So if we write these out, I have -16 is less than or equal to 3x minus 4. And then the other one is going to be 3x minus 4 is less than or equal to 2. Okay? So now if we solve, I'm going to add 4. That's going to give me -12 is less than or equal to 3x. I'm going to divide by 3. And I'm going to get -4 is less than or equal to x. There's my first one, okay? Over here, if I solve this one, I'm going to add 4. 3x is less than or equal to 6. Now we're going to divide by 3. And I have x is less than or equal to 2. Now remember, we need to combine these. So my final answer is going to be -4 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 2. All right? So there is my solution. That's the first part. Now if I graph it on a number line, I'm going to have a closed circle at -4, closed circle at +2, and I'm going to shade in the middle. Okay? And then we have to do our interval notation. Both of these are closed, so I'm going to have a bracket, -4, comma 2, a second bracket. All right, let's try one more example tonight before I'm done. Let's look at number 10. So this one has some distributive property in it, you can see. So first thing, we're going to figure out our two equations. So remember, we start at the end, go up to the middle till we get to the next inequality symbol. So there's my first one. -2, whoops, is just less than. -2 is less than 2 times x minus 6. Or, if we look at the other one, I'm going to start at this end, go to the middle till I hit my next inequality symbol. There's my other equation. 2 times x minus 6 is less than or equal to 4. Okay? Now we're going to solve them. I need to do distributive property, so I have -2 is less than, if we distribute this out, 2x minus 12. I'm going to add 12. So that's going to give me 10 is less than 2x. We're going to divide by 2. And so we have 5 is less than x. So there's my first part of my answer. Now over here, I'm going to distribute. So 2x minus 12 is less than or equal to 4. I'm going to add 12. 2x is less than, that's going to be 16. Divide by 2. X is less than or equal to 8. All right? And so now we need to combine those two. If I can get my pen to work here. There we go. 5 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 8. So there's our solution. We're going to graph both points on the number line. So I'm going to go to +5 and +8. And we're going to shade in the middle. Okay? And then if we do our interval notation, so 5 was an open, so that's a parenthesis. So 5 is the smallest, and then it goes between 5 and then all the way up to 8, and that is going to be a hard bracket because 8 is included. Ooh, and if you didn't catch that, I just caught my little typo here. So 5 should be an open circle, and I shaded that in on accident there. 8 is a closed circle, so make sure you have that correct. 5 should be open, 8 is closed, shade in the middle. All right, so we're going to stop here. Make sure you've watched both videos, and then if you have any questions, come into class tomorrow, and we will continue with this, all right? Have a great night.